Hey guys, it's Max.
And Vadim.
And today we're taking a look at the new Galaxy S20 Ultra, and we're gonna be doing a camera comparison, and not like the typical ones that you guys might have already seen, but this is gonna be a blind style. So Vadim hasn't seen these images here, and he's gonna be looking at them and choosing which one he likes better and why. You guys can join in as well, get a piece of paper ready, and after each photo, we're just gonna put in tally marks which one he liked to see at the end, you know, how these actually compare in the real world. Unbiased. And let me tell you guys, this video probably has the biggest swing in terms of one camera doing better in certain scenarios, another camera doing better in other scenarios that I've seen from all the camera tests we've done in the last 2-3 years. So it's gonna get very interesting. Let's go ahead and jump in. I'll give you guys a couple pointers as we go too, when we get some interesting results. So here's the first image. It's a selfie outside.
Okay, let's see. So the one on the right, I don't know why it looks so like flat and kind of bluish. One in the middle is a little bit dim. I would honestly go with the one on the left because the dynamic range I think is a little bit better.
Yeah.
It's a little bit too warm, but I would still go with this one for sure.
I agree, and I don't even remember which one is which.
Okay, so
S20
that's
Ultra.
S20. All right. One tally mark.
So this one is a crop into an ultra wide so we can look at detail. And that's why we only have two here, because the Pixel does not have an ultra wide lens.
So just looking at it right now, there's definitely more detail on the one on the left.
You're right, that one definitely has more detail. And here are the full shots. Which one do you like better out of the two?
I'm still going with the one on the left. It's a little bit brighter. I think I like that.
All right, that is the S20 Ultra. Now this is a macro photo taken with the main lens, and these shots are really tricky because of focusing, so I took multiple shots with each one and I picked out the best one.
All right, so I can see that the one on the right, there's a lot more blur and it's almost distracting, it's almost too much. And it's got this blue tint that I don't really like, it's not very
around
natural.
the edges.
The one in the middle is really balanced, but I like the pop of the color on the one on the left, so I'm going with that one.
Okay, 11
right.
Pro. I would disagree, I would choose the Pixel, but no problem. This is why it's you voting. And this test right here is flaring. So I'm shooting right into the sun, and we're testing how well these lenses can resist flaring.
Hands down, the one in the middle, that's easy. Definitely
Absolutely, I absolutely agree. That is the S20 Ultra, great job, and the iPhone looks probably the worst if you would agree.
Yeah, it's
horrendous,
flat,
horrendous. And this is a shot using the portrait lens, and this is a regular object here. It's not a person, this is very difficult. So I was focusing on the lanterns. Which one do you like?
So I think the one on the right, because the light inside of the lanterns is blown out on the one in the center, and the one on the left, it's actually not bad. This one's actually pretty good too, but I think the one on the right is the closest to the actual color.
It was. Pixel 4.
Wow, okay.
I was surprised. It definitely looks better.
Not bad.
In this shot, I was trying to take a wide portrait shot of the running man, getting him completely in the frame. The Pixel is actually in the center here, and it crops in automatically in portrait mode. It doesn't give you the option to take a wide shot. So which one do you like better out of these two?
I think I like the one on the right. I like the extra contrast. I like the look of the asphalt. Looks more natural, I guess, compared to the other one. So the one on the right. Oh.
S20 Ultra. And this shot right here is meant to look at colors. We have a lot of colors on these blocks right here. Obviously we have sky, the dirt there. Which one is more pleasing color-wise?
I think I'd go with the one on the left. I mean, the colors pop a lot more. It's really balanced. I think it looks more sharp as well.
Okay. S20 Ultra. Looks like you're a Samsung man. You're gonna be switching this. And this one is extremely difficult. This is during sunrise. It's super bright outside, kind of darker inside the house, a real estate type shot.
I definitely don't like the one in the center. It's between the one on the left and right. And I think the one on the right has too much contrast. It's a little bit too dark. And I like the overall balanced look of the one on the left. So it's that one.
Pixel 4.
Nice.
This is cropped in about 500% from that previous image, and I did mix them up. Which one looks better?
So the one on the right looks a little bit blurry. You don't get that much detail. It looks like the one on the center has a ton of sharpening and contrast added to try to make, I guess, more detail. So I'd honestly go with the one on the left.
That is the iPhone, so
wow,
second point for the
zoom.
iPhone. And for this one, I actually zoomed into the photo because we have a 48 megapixel 4x optical zoom with their fancy AI oversampling, all these techniques. So I believe this is roughly 8x zoom or so.
Even though I like the balance and colors better on the one in the center, I definitely see a lot more detail on the one on the left with these little plant flowers or whatever, and especially this ring around the clock. It's super sharp, so definitely that one.
S20 Ultra.
Okay.
And now we have an ultra wide photo here. Once again, the pixel's in the middle. It can't do ultra wide, unfortunately. Which one out of these two looks better?
Okay, so I think the one on the right, because I could definitely see a lot more detail in the waves in the water. Definitely more detail there, and I think in the building trees.
S20 Ultra.
Okay.
Again, good job, Samsung. Here we have a portrait mode shot, and one of them, the one on the left, actually wasn't able to do portrait mode at that distance, where the two on the right were able to, but we have a much different result.
So, I like the extra blur of the one in the center, but I do see some issues. I see that this little duck head way back there is not blurred out at all, so it's kind of this weird little glitch, so it looks unnatural for that to happen. And I do see that, unlike the one on the left, you do get a little bit of blur in the background, so it looks like this might actually be like what a pro camera would do from this distance. It wouldn't have this much blur.
11
Wow,
Pro.
11 Pro, okay.
Here's another really difficult situation in terms of dynamic range.
So what I'm seeing here is there's definitely a lot more detail right there in that dirt. It's blown out on both the left and the right cameras, so you're getting that extra detail, and the darks, the shadows are also nicely exposed. More detail right here in these bricks compared to the other two, so definitely the one in the middle.
S20
Ultra. Wow,
Ultra.
that's impressive.
And I will say that this is the only one that got the white balance correct as well. And here I have a portrait shot with the front facing. The S20 Ultra has a 40 megapixel front facing camera, whereas the Pixel has an 8 megapixel and the iPhone has a 12.
I'm gonna go with the one on the right because there's quite a bit of shadows like right above your eyes right there. And this one looks the most natural, I guess. This is the one I would choose personally.
That one is the iPhones. And now it's time to go back to that zoom lens. And here I have a scenario where I was standing quite far back, and this is roughly 15x zoom. So I did actually crop in on the two other cameras to match it up.
All right, so the one on the left, I see a lot of noise and blotchiness in the sky, or like all over it. The one on the right, you get a little bit of noise, not very noticeable, a little bit more detail for sure, but the one in the center, this just destroys it.
It looks
The sky looks
awesome.
smooth, everything's incredibly detailed. You could see the texture.
I'm really surprised
It's good.
that this was from the Samsung. Well, no, we're not surprised from Samsung. I'm surprised by how well
it
this
does.
shot turned out. And now we have 100 times zoom. So I already have the results here, obviously.
Yeah.
This is what the S20 looks like. It looks terrible. I wouldn't want this photo on my phone, but obviously it looks better
Does the best.
than digitally cropping the other two. And here we have a macro shot using the telephoto lenses. And once again, I shot around 5 or 6 shots and chose the best one because macro shots are so difficult. And I got as close as I could with the lenses and then to maintain a sharp image.
So for some reason, the one on the left is pretty far back, so I guess it couldn't focus closely. And between the other two, it's really close, but I think I like the one on the right for the extra pop of color, especially in those little flower buds or whatever that is. So the one on the right, I think.
The one on the right is the iPhone 11 Pro.
Okay.
So this is interesting. You guys see that the S20 Ultra can't focus that closely. That's the closest I could get. Because the lens is using that mirror design, the sensor is sideways, you need to be a lot further for it to properly focus. Now, you could do more digital zoom in this image, but that is a limitation you guys should know about. Now in this image, I cropped in extra in post, but it was originally shot using 2x zoom, and I want to see what the detail looks like if we want that zoom amount.
All right, so I think I'm seeing more detail on the one on the right, especially in those little feathers right there. I think I do. It might just be contrast, but honestly, I like the one on the right the most.
And here's that same image, just the normal shot. This was 2x. Do you change your mind at all, or sticking with the same result?
I like how bright this one is, but it's honestly a little bit blown out in certain areas. I think I'm still gonna go with the one on the right.
That is the S20 Ultra. And this is another thing I wanted to make you guys aware of. If you're using the 2x zoom with the S20 Ultra, it actually is using the 1x zoom and cropping in twice digitally from that 108 megapixel. So it still does a good job, even though you're cropping in on the sensor, whereas the other two actually have lenses for that. Now this is another ultra wide shot, so we have only the Samsung and the iPhone. And here I wanted to look at dynamic range. This was super dark underneath this bridge, super bright outside. What does it look like to you?
So I'm seeing more dynamic range, particularly in the sky. You get a lot more cloud detail. And right here, underneath, you get more detail, whereas this is a little bit blown out. And also, I think the shadows are brought up more. So it's a more balanced image, and you could do more with this one. So the one on the right.
11 Pro.
11 Pro, okay.
Not a massive difference, but it definitely, the iPhone's ultra wide is a little bit better dynamic range. And here we have another portrait mode shot. This guy was wondering what I was doing out in downtown, and he asked me to take some photos. So we have portrait shots here.
I think the one on the left is a little bit too warm, and his face is like really flat. There's not much, I guess, change in skin tones or anything in his face. And the one in the center is a little bit over contrasty, maybe? It's definitely nice and sharp, especially on his jacket, but I think I would prefer the one on the right.
S20 Ultra. Okay. You're a Samsung man. All right, and here we have a portrait shot, except for we are inside. We have a studio light for that kind of effect on your face with the shadow drop off and some bokeh balls.
So looking at these, I can tell that a lot of the color is gone on the one in the center. Just my face looks like really white, almost like a little bit blown out. And between the one on the left and the right, I'm seeing a lot of sharpening and contrast on the left, and like my hair is like really black. And I think the one on the right looks the most natural. It's more balanced. I think I would choose that one.
Okay. That is the iPhone. And I would choose the Pixel. I have to say that.
Yeah.
I thought the Pixel kept the shadows nicely. Let's go to the next one. This is interesting. What the heck? What in the world? So we reshot this multiple times to make sure it wasn't a fluke. I looked at other areas, and one of these phones clearly could not handle that lamp, and it thought it needed to make it, the white balance, auto white balance thought it needed to
what in the world?
Fix it. Whereas the other two were able to handle the situation.
It's horrible. So between these two, I'm seeing like softening in my face. Like I don't really see my texture compared to the left. I see like some skin texture and different stuff like that. I'm seeing more texture in my shirt as well. So I think I'm gonna go with the left one.
The iPhone. And this is a situation where deep fusion will kick in. And that is why you're seeing those differences. And the Pixel, I don't know. This is another shot in kind of medium lighting using that standard lens.
All right, so the white balance is destroyed on the left. That's probably the Pixel 4 again because it's so blue. And between the center and the right, I'm seeing a lot more detail in the texture of the panels. I can more easily read the text on the YouTube plaque. And like this lens right here, I'm honestly liking the center for sure.
That one is the 11 Pro. Now this test was set up, and I wasn't expecting this result, to test out the 108 megapixels compared to deep fusion. So
12.
In that medium lighting, 12 megapixels, but using computer AI, whatever algorithm stuff, stacking images, it actually beat out as far as detail having 108 megapixels. So that was very interesting, and I was not expecting that result. And here is that same image, but right now I used the telephoto lenses to see how they compare.
Yep, center again, for sure. Like
a lot more
very
detail.
Blurry right there, and this is way too blue, so center.
And this one wasn't mixed up. I thought just to show you guys the difference. And this scenario was set up, and it wasn't cherry picked or anything like that, to test out the extra lens, the telephoto lens on here compared to the telephoto lenses on the other ones. 48 megapixel, but the downside to having this, way bigger, way more magnification basically is that it's a f3.7 lens, I believe.
Okay.
And we'll put the lens ones up here for you guys to see. That means there's a lot less light coming in. And even though we have more megapixels, because we have less light, the image turns out less detailed.
Okay.
And this shot right here is using the 2x zoom option. So the S20 doesn't have the chance to use the telephoto lens in this scenario. And this is a brighter sort of lighting, but not ultra bright.
All right, so the one in the center, just my skin looks really pale, so definitely not that one. Between the left and the right, they both do a pretty good job. I think I see more detail on the one on the left, but I like how the one on the right is able to keep that light bulb less blown out and have more color on my shirt and my pants and everything else. So the one on the right.
The S20 has less detail because it has to crop into the sensor. Even though it has 108 megapixels, it is at a disadvantage. And now let's get into the really low light situations. This is using the front camera, using the night mode, and one of them obviously does not support night mode for the front facing camera.
Yeah, so the left one does not support that. The one in the center is definitely the clear winner. The one on the right is just a little bit blurry, some motion blur going on, so.
And it's focused on the
center.
background. Yep.
Yeah.
Pixel 4, it doesn't look amazing, but it smokes the iPhone. It sucks the iPhone doesn't have that option, and it did better than the S20 Ultra. And I will say, I actually took, Pixel 4 I only took one image. The S20 Ultra I took a couple because it kept focusing on the background, if you can see that.
Interesting.
And that's an issue that kept coming up. Now we have another one. This is medium kind of lighting. We have this field here. And this was handheld using about a 5-second shutter or so.
All right, so I could see a lot more detail on the one on the left, and the colors look better as well. I see like in all this grass or whatever, tons of detail, whereas this is all just pasty and blotchy, so left for sure.
Pixel 4. Good job, Google. They're good at their night modes.
Yeah,
Definitely a clear winner. And this shot was in complete darkness. So to my eyes, I really couldn't see anything. And this was on a tripod. I will say that too.
So the one on the left is just extremely flat. It's got like this weird tint to it. Between the center and the right, it's a really tough call. The one on the right looks really blue, and I don't know if it was that blue.
It was completely black. I'll just say that everything was completely black.
All right, so I think I'm gonna go with the one in the center. I feel like the colors are probably more close to what it was.
Yeah, if you figure that image, but just brighter, that's probably what you would see. 11 Pro and the Pixel 4. So the Pixel 4, if you guys noticed from previous images, it likes to add kind of a bluer sky, which I personally like how that looks. There's also another difference. The Pixel 4, this was a 4-minute exposure.
4 minute.
When it knows that you're on a tripod, it does a 4-minute. And if you blow this up more so, it does have more detail, a little more sharpness. Yeah. Whereas the S20, this was the best shot. And the other ones were worse and really pasty and really flat, and also the haloing around. And I don't know if that's just having to take that 108 megapixels and not only take all these shots and stack them together with long exposure, but we have all the sampling that has to happen as well. So that was very interesting. Okay. With the 11 Pro, this is a running shot, and I cropped in a little bit as well. Every shot is actually in focus. I zoomed in, I looked at him. It tracked you very, very well. Okay. The Pixel 4, I think every shot but one was slightly out of focus, and then it tracked you very well as well. And I was looking at the background to see if the focus was changing. Whereas with the Samsung, it starts out with everything in focus.
Blue.
Yeah, very blue. But then this is already slightly out of focus, especially on the 6K XDR. Out of focus.
Oh, wow.
Out of focus. Out of focus.
Interesting.
And the reason why I want to show this is I think Samsung has more work to do as far as software. They said they're going to work on focusing issues as well, but consistently shooting these different images, sometimes I would have to reshoot in this comparison because some of the shots were just out of focus. And then I have one more shot here. I think you already know what's going on right here. This is a shot that I took personally of a different object. I just noticed an issue trying to take a close-up shot with the lens. So here we have 3 images. Which one looks better to you? I guess we'll do it that way first.
It's pretty close, but I think the one on the right, because I'm seeing some kind of blurriness over here at the top where the entrepreneurs, I think this one's overall the best on the right.
Yep, and then this one is the iPhone 11 Pro, the Pixel 4, and the S20 Ultra.
Okay.
And this is something that just bugged me day-to-day, shooting with this. Because the sensor is quite a bit larger in this camera, it needs a larger lens, and that's why the camera bump is so much larger. But in fact, in reality, if this was a pro camera, the lens would be 2-3 times larger to be able to give enough quality for the sensor. And what happens is when you try to do a close-up for a far distance, it's okay at focusing. Close-up, the center is sharp, but everything really, really blurs out. Whereas the Pixel has a little bit blurring, not much. The iPhone does a really good job here. So I think that is it as far as the testing. Let's see what we got as far as our results.
All right, so we got 12 for the S20 Ultra. We have 13 for the iPhone 11 Pro and 4 for the Pixel 4. Oh man.
That was pretty close. I'll say overall, I was really happy with some of those S20 shots, especially when you're shooting outside with either the main lens at 1x or that telephoto at around from 4 to 10. It looks really, really good. Dynamic range, contrast, they did a great job. But in some of these other situations, that's where the iPhone started to beat it out because it's better software and more optimized. So it'll be interesting to see what happens longer term after we have some software improvements. So there you guys go. Let us know down in the comment section below which one you thought was better or what your score was if you guys did this test as well. And if you want to see a comparison between these two, let us know as well. I will be doing a 1 week switch over. I actually switched for a couple days already. So I'll be doing a video letting you guys know all the pros, which there definitely are some good pros and some cons, switching from an iPhone to this new S20 Ultra. So make sure you guys have that subscribe button enabled, the notifications also enabled down below. And if you guys want to see a couple other great videos, we have them right over there. This has been Max and
Vadim,
and we'll see you in the next one.